Hey everyone, back for the lore stream. I don't really know how long this one's gonna take, but most of it's kind of scripted, unlike the last one where I kind of went off a little bit on tangents. So, if you didn't catch my debut stream, my name is Daimien Kamiya. I am the Omni King, and this stream is going to be about the lore behind the Omni Kingdom and the Omni King, and a few other individuals and details involved within the lore of myself and the world I come from. So I'm going to switch over quickly to the gaming screen here. Very similar to the last time. Where it's in a PowerPoint presentation. So let's just get right into it. We can get it out. I can probably remove the exercise counter though. And I also fixed the chat, by the way. I figured out what the issue with that was right away. So that should all be fixed now. From the debut stream. So what is the Omni Kingdom? That's the real question. So the Omni Kingdom, a place before places, a time before time. The Omni Kingdom predates even existence itself. It's not a specific location, but all that has come will go and has yet to come. It encompasses the past, the present, and the future, basically. Oops. What am I doing here? Wrong window. There we go. So the story. This is the first page of the story. He was alone. Nothing but himself. In a void-like environment, he sought more than just himself. The Omni King dreamed of more. Through his will, he enforced this dream. He created a being that was much different from himself. Wings, claws, a tail, sharper teeth, and thicker skin. He created the dragon. The Omni King cherished this time with the dragon, and the dragon did just as much more with the Omni King as well. This gave the Omni King a thought. To create more friends. More people to help remove the fading memories of the lonely void. So from his will, he created 8 more individuals. He created the 8 Knights of the Omni Kingdom. The Omni King enjoyed his time with the Knights just as much as he did with the dragon. The dragon wasn't exactly of the same mind, but didn't hate the new additions. However, the Omni King still wanted more. The dragon wasn't exactly of the same mind, but didn't hate the new additions. Reread that line. However, the Omni King still wanted more. More friends, more bonds. He had an idea to create a massive multi-form of realms where there could be infinite friendship. He pushed his will to create every form of existence he could. The dragon selfishly tried to stop him. It cost him his life and only set the unfinished foundation. The dragon did not realize what this interference would cause. She couldn't believe that she lost the closest person in her life. Could not accept it. Not the consequences, not the loss, not the idea that this was even remotely her fault. She, as the feelings of loss turned to rage, placed blame on the Knights. It was their fault. Only after they showed up that caused the change to the Omni King, so they had to go. She would use all of her power to get rid of them if she had to. She confronted them with a very powerful attack, forcing them to fight back in defense. The fight raged on for a while or so. Many attacks were thrown as their power did grow. Their final forms clashed with incredible force. In a bright flash, the foundation grew coarse. The collisions of the final attacks finished what the Omni King started, but the dragon and knights were nowhere to be seen. Gone. However, 7 beings, guardians, if you will, were what remained. Still, the power of the Omni King, the dragon, and the knights cannot disappear for forever. All right, so that's the basics. That's the backstory, the before me. Ooh, there we go. That's the before me. Before the, it's a reincarnation process. So that is the original beings, the original Omni King, dragon, and knights from the story that is left to be told. But now we should go over the actual characters themselves. The dragon and the knights, let's discuss them a little bit. I don't plan to go over too much because I do indeed plan to have these characters show up on stream and talk about themselves. That's a full-on intention I possess. So, the dragon. The dragon possesses absolute power, can control power itself, and also has absolute draconic control, including over other dragons if desired. Being the original dragon means that all dragons succumb to the dragon. And that's all that I'm willing to share with the dragon. And with the knights, I'm going to share about the similar things. However, the knights, one thing I didn't discuss is, well, what knights? What kind of knights are they? Though this is where we're going to discuss that. You'll find out what their title is, as well as the powers that come with that title. So the first knight is the warrior. The warrior specializes in combat, fighting, and weaponry. Being the most skilled individual on a battlefield, can turn the tides of battle regardless of odds. 1 versus 1,000,000 even, and they will still win. The judge. The judge possesses holy, demonic, morality, and soul powers. The powers that basically stow the lines of good and evil. That is what the judge is. The judge can determine guilt, innocence, even to an objective degree, and will always side with the side it truly believes is correct in a more objective manner. The mage. The mage, well, simply put, magic. There really isn't much else to say about the mage other than that the mage loves magic. The mage can use any form of magic whatsoever, all over the place, 100%. That is what the mage does. The elemental. The elemental, as the name kind of suggests, uses the elements, all 10. Fire, water, earth, wind, thunder, ice, metal, wood, light, and darkness. So the 10 elements, and they comprise everything. Everything you could possibly imagine or dream of. Even humanity. Humanity is comprised of all 10 elements, with fire and ice being our body temperature. Water is what a majority of our body is made of. Earth and metal represent our bones. Wind is the air we breathe. Thunder is the electrical impulses that go through our body that allow us to function. Wood is the only element that is organic. It is the only element that can grow and change. And then light and darkness represent the conscience, the idea of being able to choose right and wrong, and the consequences and benefits that come from those decisions. The traveler. The traveler utilizes motion as their primary power. Specifically, motion spirals down a lot though. So things like speed, time, acceleration, velocity. There is a whole lot that comes with being the traveler, and it is not merely just going places. It is determining what can go places, how it can go places, and whether you want to allow it to go places. The monster. This might seem like a weird pick at first, and the monster represents his adaptability, fear, and then control over other monsters and beasts. Adaptability is the primary power of the monster because, in truth, a monster isn't necessarily a physical being or creature. The monster is just simply a being or individual that does things that are widely, hated, distrusted, frowned upon by the society to a degree, I guess. However, adaptability allows the monster to adapt to any form of punishment, making punishment nonsensical. Slice off a limb, it regrows. Slice off a head, it regrows. Stab through the heart, it'll heal. But even other things like, mental torture, the mind will adapt. Everything the monster can come back from. So it has no risk of consequence, meaning that it can literally go all out with no issue. The engineer. The engineer specifically controls technology, machines, and data. Anything digital whatsoever, the world's moving into a more modern age, and that just causes the engineer to get more and more and more and more capable with their powers. Right? And then finally, you have the seer. The seer uses psychic-related powers, so telepathy, telekinesis, and then can also manipulate spirit and spiritual energies. And that makes up the 8 knights. They each have... Now, all of these beings, the dragon and the knights, have already been reincarnated. I myself am the last member of the original 10 to be reincarnated. So I've had less time coming to terms than they have. But they have their own personalities. And you'll discover those when they come on, when they have their stream where they can talk about their pasts and how their powers unlocked and adapted into their lives. So the next screen, we are talking about the Guardians. They were briefly mentioned in the last paragraph. So what are the Guardians? Well, they're born from the start of existence. The Guardians represent things needed for survival and growth. No matter where you're from, whether you're from this planet, another dimension, if you're a living being, these are things that exist to a degree that will, allow for growth and development to keep going forward. So however, one thing, I actually forgot to include this in the thing. Each Guardian actually possesses a creature-based form. Unlike the others where they're more humanoid, these ones might not necessarily be humanoid. However, they can take, because they've lived through since the beginning of existence, they can take the form of whatever they desire to blend in. So if they show up on Earth, they can take the form of humans, but they could take the form of a lion, of a mosquito, of a snake, of a frog. They could take the form of anything they want. However, they are most comfortable in their base forms. So the first Guardian is the pixie, and you think, okay, well, it's a pixie, so what could a pixie do? It's only a few inches tall. There's no way the pixie... Oh, well, yeah, the pixie wields destruction. Has the ability to even just wipe planets right out of the galaxies they're in. You wouldn't think a being that's only a few inches tall could just... But yeah, it can. Definitely, absolutely just can destroy things. However... One thing to note is the pixie has told me specifically that they do not like their powers. They do not like representing destruction, representing the end of it all. But destruction is more than just, destruction. It's the end of something. So it's the cause that results in change. So, well, destruction, breaking something, that's destruction. But so is death. Death is the destruction of life. And you have other forms of destruction as well. So destruction is really an epitome. That's why there isn't a death representative in the group, is because destruction is above death. Phoenix. So the next guardian is the Phoenix. The Phoenix controls emotion. Emotion, well, a lot of emotion is a strong drive for, whether it's something like courage, determination, happiness, anger. There's tons of emotions that tend to lead to different situations, to different decisions made by individuals. And as a matter of fact, the Pixie and the Phoenix counter each other. Destruction can lead to the feelings of emotions, whether good or bad, while emotion can lead to the desire to cause destruction. Again, whether good or bad. We're talking, again, we want to talk about destruction as if it's not a solely negative term. It's not breaking something. It could be seen as, breaking your chains, gaining freedom. That's a happy feeling. That's a positive emotion. And so they actually balance each other out as guardians go. The next guardian is a Kyubi Kitsune, or a nine-tailed fox, and their power is weakness and flaw. Everything has a form of weakness and a flaw to them, and the Kitsune knows it. One glance knows your weaknesses, knows everything they need to know to exploit the living hell out of you. And if you don't have anything, they'll make one. The whole role of the Kyubi Kitsune is to represent that nothing is perfect. There is no perfection. Even the guardians themselves will admit that they are not perfect beings. The Pixie hates that it cannot create. It can only destroy. The Phoenix has moments of emotional instability because of their power. They can't feel apathy, basically. So there is weakness and flaw to everything. Now, the next three are Ziz, Behemoth, and Leviathan. Now, unlike the others, their powers are very straightforward, being sky, ocean, and land, the representations of what these beings are in our known human mythology. So Ziz is a bird, massively sized. Its wingspan can block out the sun. Leviathan is a giant water serpent that roams the seas. And the Behemoth has had many depictions over many forms of mythology, but to me it is, to this Behemoth, she has a very more of a lizard beast-like form, but it does have some bovine features as well. The Behemoth. So one interesting fact about these three is that when they're in their environment, they are basically indestructible, invincible. So the Ziz, if the Ziz is in the sky, it is almost impossible to defeat. And Leviathan's the same in the ocean as Behemoth is with land. Their weakness is the other two environments. As such, the three of them represent a counter to each other. And the final one is an eldritch monster, a being that doesn't really have a true form, but what better power to represent that than potential? The eldritch monster represents not only the expectation, but what can be achieved, what could be achieved. can control literally an individual's potential or a thing's potential. What is the limits of what this thing can reach, and can they go beyond that? However, because potential has no limits, it requires a weakness. And that's where the Kitsune and the Eldritch Monster are opposing forces as well. As all potential has a weakness, which is generally in some cases it can be just simply determination. You have the potential to get an A+ on your math test, but do you have the drive to study for it? And weakness is what brings down potential. So potential is, if you have that drive, potential can surpass your weaknesses. So that's the Guardians. That's the discussion on all the Guardians, and there's nothing else to reveal in regards to them until they decide to show up on stream. But next up is me, the Omni King. So what is it about the Omni King? My power is absolute will power. It is the ability to enforce my will. Through will, I could basically accomplish anything. I am one of basically three beings. One is the dragon and the other is the Eldritch Monster, where our powers without the limitation don't really have a set limitation. So since the dragon can manipulate power, the Eldritch Monster manipulates potential, including their own potential. The Omni King and the Omni King's willpower can be instilled upon anything. There's really no limit to what the three of us are capable of doing. However, they understand their powers a lot more than I do. Right? So my story. So I'm from Earth, the same Earth as all of you. I'm the only member of the Omni Kingdom to not be from a world that didn't already have some form of new supernatural element to it, to some degree. Most of what we see is in fiction, so the idea of just suddenly having a power that doesn't exist to you is really not something that, is something you can come to terms with so easily. Struggles the most with coming to terms with the powers, and I still don't really know how they work or what to do with them. My powers only recently awoke. A lot of the others have had their powers for minimum centuries. Once they awaken, you don't really age anymore, so they've had their powers for long times. Some of them, their powers were merely an upgrade to what they could already do. Like the engineer could already, personally, without equipment, hack electronics. And now they can just outright take control of nationwide databases. So then you have me, who's just your average guy, that suddenly, now I'm just like this all-powerful god. So it's harder to come to terms with what I can do and what I'm capable of. I do possess a weapon, though. Several of the Omni Kingdom do. So my weapon is this scepter saber you see before you. My mama did a fantastic job animating that. It looks great. So this has so as I'm holding it as a scepter. It can also be used as a pretty potent blunt weapon. It can be thrown, it can be twirled. And if I flip it around and hold it by the red part, I can use it as a sword, or a saber, if you will. Is a very versatile weapon that I can use in any form. I'm simply right now limited to holding it like this. Don't worry, I'll try and see what I can do about that in the future. But this is good for now. I don't need anything more. I'm happy with having this scepter the way it is. Now let me put it away. And so next up is coming to terms. So this is, me coming to terms. Like, when I unlocked my powers, the Guardians and the Knights and the Dragon all knew where to find me. Like, they could isolate my powers right away just from instinct alone. And, you know, coming to terms with the fact that I just became a god, like, well, what do I do? You know, I basically just became a god. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to act. And it was the Pixie Guardian that helped me come to terms with that. And this is a conversation I had with them, or with her. And she, and I don't know if I necessarily do a very good Pixie accent or Pixie imitation, but I'll try my best for this discussion. But it was the Pixie Guardian that helped me not get overwhelmed with the power I now possess. So, you know, so I'm sitting down, she comes up and, you know, sits beside me, and she says, "I know this must be hard to come to terms with. Humans only experience this type of thing in fiction, after all." It is. I just don't know what to do now. All this power, all this responsibility. It's commendable that you're thinking about the responsibility, but that is not your weight to bear. I have been around for a very long time, and never once thought it was up to me to solve others' problems to a massive degree. I am not the be-all, end-all solution. I choose to encourage others to create a grand solution on their own instead. Otherwise, you end up with people treating you like a god and expecting you to solve everything for them rather than doing it themselves. The power, however, it's just so much. What should I do? Nothing. What? The source of your power is willpower, correct? Yeah. Then I see nothing different. You possess a power that when you put your mind to something, you can achieve impossible feats and create from the craziest of ideas. Don't humans already have that power? Have they not already accomplished this in their species' lifetime? You simply have a supercharged version of it. I never thought of it that way. And that was more or less the discussion I had with the Pixie that made me realize that I'm kind of just have a supercharged power that the you know, that humans already possess. You know, humans already possess the willpower to accomplish beyond limits. You know, that's how humans have developed since the beginning of our history. I just have the ability to kind of skip the do your math portion, I guess you could say, where I have the problem and I can make the solution. I don't need to do the work in between. But it's still sometimes harder to truly understand what I can do. But the Omni Kingdom going forward. So in the future, I plan to have every single Omni Kingdom member on stream. Not necessarily at the same time, but I do plan to do something with them. They will each get a stream where they get to talk about themselves and their powers. However, I have no desire to VTube rig any of them, however. They will probably just be PNG artwork. As it stands already, there's 18 people, including myself. I don't kind of have that kind of money. So yeah, they'll probably just be like PNG artwork that will show up on stream and whenever those kind of situations occur. And I do plan to use stories or funny moments regarding them in the future, in future audio skits whenever I can get around to it. However, they will not appear in an audio skit until after they have had a stream where they introduce themselves, so you know who it is. Also, if you look in the background, right here, that little symbol, you can also see it on my shirt, on my sweater, and in the bottom right or left corner, sorry, of the gameplay overlay. That is the symbol of the Omni King. This is a symbol that represents me as the Omni King. Every member of the Omni Kingdom has something like this, and I think the Guardians also adapted one themselves. Sadly, I cannot show them to you because I have not had the time to make more in Excel. You know, in all honesty, this was something I made kind of as a doodle in like grade 10. In grade 12, I actually got to use it in a school project, and I really wanted to use it again. So here it is. So going forward, I hope to be able to make more of them. That's the reason why this one looks so much more random compared to my color scheme of purple, green, and orange. But I plan to maybe keep that aesthetic rather than, you know, so the colors won't always necessarily match the character that is the Omni member that is going to be debuting. So that's the end of that streams, or the PowerPoint. So I'm going to switch back to this here. So I'm definitely so that's the lore stream. Definitely excited about that. I feel like the chat is not working. I thought I fixed it, but I guess I might not have. I also might need to work on the positioning of my camera here. My monitor setup's a little bit weird, so if my eyes looked like they were squinting, I was looking at my other monitor, and my camera wasn't picking up the turning very well. I just moved my camera now. But anyways, so I'm going to try and figure out some more of these tech issues. But I hope you guys definitely enjoyed the lore stream. There's so much more ideas to come from this. I hope you guys are excited to join me in on it. I'm super excited. I got all these characters in my head, and you know, all like the knights, and specifically the knights and the dragon. How, you know, so their lives, so when they appear on stream, they're going to be talking about, I want to assume the dragon is like, let's say like George Washington, where you go up to George Washington and you ask him, hey, tell me about yourself and then tell me about the presidency. Well, he's the first president. What is there to tell you? You know, there's no information, no history. However, he can tell you a lot about himself. And that's kind of like what they're going to do. There's not much they can tell you in regards to their powers, but they can tell you about themselves. And there's a whole world in regards to that. I don't know how my head contains it all, but I'm definitely looking forward to sharing all of that with you guys. Again, I don't know when I'll get around to some of this stuff, but it will not be until after Christmas for sure. You know, I'm only going to have some time to really just stream, play games, and then go to work. So definitely after Christmas, we will get back into maybe more of a regular thing. But have I ever sang like Michael Jackson? No, I haven't. But regardless, that's my lore stream. So I hope to see you guys later. My next stream will be on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. I plan to post my schedule on both Reddit. We'll see where that goes. And I'll pin it to Twitter and try to get it on YouTube, maybe in like a free chat format. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you later.